so I'm thinking about joining another mom's group. Well, I survived the last one. I figure I can survive another one too. Just call me Super Moms Group. I had no idea where I was going with that one. Anyways, this one's a little unique, and of course, I'm super unsure. Not because I might embarrass myself, although we know that's a distinct possibility, but because they pray for an entire hour. Yeah, they pray for the entire hour. It's called Moms in Prayer. I met a mom at the other moms group whose kids go to my school, and she invited me to it. Yeah, I thought it was really cool too. They pray for the students, the teachers, the school in general. I'm really excited about it, except for I hope there won't be any awkward pauses. You know, Mom, how I have a compulsion to fill any awkward pause with blunt statements. Oh, like yesterday, I was talking with a group of moms after school, and there was an awkward pause, so I said, I like kale. No, we were talking about spring break plans. Anyways, I just don't know where that comes from.
You know, I joined a Moms in Prayer group when Anne was getting ready to go to kindergarten, okay? It wasn't that I was freaked out that she was going to kindergarten. It was that I was freaked out she was going to ride the school bus. I was really, really bothered by that. I was concerned about it. And so I learned about this ministry, Moms in Prayer, and they gathered moms together to pray for their children in their schools. And so I was like, okay, I think I need that right now. So, you know, I knew that without a doubt, this was a time I needed to pray.
Yeah, my husband, he interviewed for a new job, and at that point, we had like a month's wait period, and it was like being on pins and needles, and so we knew that we had to be praying and just seeking God's face, and it was just amazing to see God speak to us through His Word, and yes, it worked out great. So.
Yeah, but sometimes, boy, when you're in that in between, when you don't know the answer, you don't know what's coming next. So the thought of praying with someone, in fact, the thought of praying for an hour, because that's what they do. They prayed together for an hour. And I was like, okay, if I wasn't freaked out about her going to school, I was really freaked out about praying with somebody for an hour. I couldn't imagine what in the world would you talk about for an hour. But I remember I went to the first group and the leader really taught us how to do that. And then I found, wow, there's a lot to talk to God about, you know. But I will admit I was pretty intimidated by that. So when you think of praying together, or praying with another person or a group of people, is that something that absolutely intimidates you, or is that something that invigorates you in some way? Like, what's your response at the thought of praying together?
It's intimidating, but I have this cool thing, you know, that I just say to myself, you know, in my weakness, His power is revealed, and that's what I fall back on every time, because it's not in my strength, you know, and it's not about me. It's about, you know, allowing the Holy Spirit to just flow through me.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's good.
Praying with others, for me, at this stage of life, invigorates me, actually. I mean, it wasn't always that way. I didn't always feel comfortable, but I've come to the place where because I've seen the results from it, basically. I know that when you pray in a group, the Holy Spirit comes, first of all, in that moment, but then the things you pray for, God answers. And so it's an exciting time because you know you're meeting with God together and you're growing in a relationship with each other, you're strengthening those relationships. But then the things you're bringing before God, you know, He's listening and He's paying attention. And I mean, that's an incredible opportunity. You know, so.
But sometimes He answers either in a way that I don't want, or He answers in a way that I don't even recognize it as an answer, you know. I think sometimes that happens. You know, also when I think about prayer, I think about the family that we grew up in really affects our comfort level of prayer. I know it did for me because when I was growing up, I mean, I grew up in a Christian home, but prayer was pretty compartmentalized. Like, we prayed at meals, if we were at home, and then we prayed at bedtime. And so that was the only time I was comfortable with praying. And then when I was 19, I really moved from my parents' faith to my own faith. And so I began this new journey to get to know God at a new level. And I realized prayer is just talking to him all day. It's more spontaneous. It's more having conversations in the moment. And so I knew that I wanted that for my kids, but it was way uncomfortable because I had not seen that. So what about your family of origin? Like, how does that affect your perspective on prayer?
I would say that mine is similar to yours. We did pray in our home, but it wasn't something that we did corporate prayer outside of meals or bedtime. So that definitely influenced kind of how I viewed prayer until I was in college. I went to New York and prayed with people in
like
the
on
subway.
a mission trip?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that, I don't know, I was still intimidated when I went on that trip, but it kind of opened up the opportunity for me to be able to gain, I don't know, just more of a comfort in praying outside of those other situations.
Absolutely. That makes sense.
I grew up in a Hindu background and did not become a Christian until I was 8 years old.
Wow.
And so my entire family became Christians at that point, but my mom was always, no matter what our religion was, she was always a very godly woman, and she always prayed. And so I grew up seeing that, and my sisters followed in her steps. So it was really neat growing up with these 3 prayer warriors around me who just prayed about everything, and they were so passionate about it. And so I grew up with that, but it was also intimidating because I just felt like I couldn't pray like that, and so that held me back for quite some time. But I just know that that's my pride, and I can't continue in that path, just need to let the Holy Spirit work through me and not lean on my own strength. So
I know, it just seems like a lot of times when we pray with somebody else, it seems like everybody else prays better than we do. There's just that feeling like everybody else prays better than we do. And so I think that, that we have to recognize that, and then we have to really move away from that ledge of comparison and say, absolutely not. I've got my eyes on the wrong thing, the wrong person.
Definitely.
My eyes are on me and they need to be on him. And what a difference that makes.
Growing up, I grew up in a Christian home. Mom and Dad were Christians by the time that they had me. And so, but I remember in 3rd grade, Mom pushing her comfort zone. And I don't remember what it was about, but I remember vividly with my purple hard case lunchbox standing in the kitchen and her praying with me for something. And I remember thinking this was weird because it had never happened before. And I know that for her, it was weird. She had never done it before, but she really pushed through that, and it soon became normal. And for us in my family, it's now normal. And it's normal for me to just stop and pray with my children. And I had a cool picture a couple months ago. My daughter Rylan makes these videos, and she is such a personality. And she had created a video, and I'm watching the video, and in the middle she stopped, and for whoever she was making this video for, she stopped and she said, I'm gonna pray for you right now. And she just started praying for this person on the video. And it really hit me that because of my mom's choices and because she pushed through comfort, it affected the future generations. And so I think that's really powerful, that even if it's something that we're uncomfortable with, we need to push through, because you never know what future generations are going to be affected by that.
That is such a good reminder. And I think that I remember that moment. I remember that day too. I totally do. Because I wanted something different for you guys than what I had growing up. I felt like what I had growing up was wonderful, but I had personally experienced something more, so then I wanted it. And I realized you have to push through awkward to get to a new normal. So if you're trying to create a new normal when it comes to prayer, and whether that's praying with your spouse, or whether it's praying with some girlfriends, or whether it's praying with a friend, or even just texting a prayer to someone, that it's going to feel awkward when you first do it. And it's going to feel awkward when you do it for the second time and even the third time. But then it becomes more normal. And so I think that's what we just want to grow. So I think that's really, really important. So who's got our tip of the day?
I do.
All right.
So I have found that cooking chicken breast in the crock pot in bulk, 6 or 7, whatever your crock pot will fit, and then cook it, shred it, and put it in freezer bags just helps with dinner time, crunch time when you're trying to come up with a meal quickly. You can throw it in tacos or soups or sandwiches, and it's just an easy way to
Just
have
in
a meal.
individual baggies, like already served.
Kind of, it depends on the size of your family. So, if you want to do it in quart size, or if you have a really large family, gallon size. But
That's great. I used to do something similar with ground beef. I'd come home, and instead of putting it like in the freezer raw, I would just cook it, and then just cook big bulks of it, and then put it in the freezer already cooked. And same thing, you can throw it into chili, you can make tacos. So great idea. I love it. Good.
If you have a friend that is struggling, send her a prayer text right now. You'll both be reminded that we're better together.